You're watching Inside Utah Politics.
Time now to debate some of the big stories of the week with the Inside Utah Politics panel. This week we have State Senator Luz Escamilla and Michelle Quest. Great to have you with us. Thanks so much for being here.
You're welcome. Thank
you. Let's start off with the Kavanaugh hearings. I mean, this has turned into must-see television. Yep. Something we've just never seen like this before. I'd like to get your take on the strategy you're seeing from your respective parties. Senator Escamilla, let's start with you. The Democrats' strategy clearly to postpone, saying, look, we just don't know enough about this guy. Do you like that move?
I do. I mean, I think it's scary. I mean, this is a major decision, and I think now we're seeing the aftermath of the presidential election of 2016, and that's concerning. And I'm glad they're, I mean, the fact that they got all these documents and the night before from this week and all this process, it's concerning, and it almost seems like they're hiding something. And some of his record, of course, is public, but more about him personally, I think it's important we get as much information. I mean, they literally changed the way we live in our country, and Supreme Court justices are critical. I mean, beyond critical.
Michelle, let's bring you in. Republicans, their clear strategy. Let's get this through before the midterms in time for him to sit on the bench, for them to decide what cases they're going to take the next term.
Right.
Is that the right move there?
It is. I mean, we can't have a court that has 8 justices. We've seen before what happens when, when cases get sent back. They're acting like Judge Kavanaugh is a bad apple, and really it wouldn't matter who is nominated. They're going to have a problem. Democrats are going to have a problem with anybody who's nominated. Judge Kavanaugh has had, he's had endorsements from his prior students and lecturers and Harvard professors and liberals and Democrats and Republicans, and he's a great judge, and he will be a great judge on the court. And I think we need to get him through.
How much of what we're seeing has to do with Merrick Garland and the Republicans refusing to bring him up for consent?
I mean, I think there's a lot of concerns, and I agree that at the end of the day, they have the votes. I mean, I think the numbers are going to be there for the Republicans to get it through. It's a big decision, and every time there is someone that's brought up, and CNN just did a big coverage on Supreme Justice Ginsburg and her story and her life, and that was a tough process too. And I know they've been showing whether it's the same number of days and hearings and everything else. Senator Hatch was, a strong vocal voice during that time. That to me, it's like, look, you can't have it both ways. I mean, when it's your turn to be on the opposition, then play your role, but also let the other party play their role. And at the end, I think he's going to get it, confirmed. But it's important to ask the tough questions, and the constituency of this country deserve to listen and have that transparency and that process be in place. It's nice that we can see now everything, right? And it's available, and we have people listening at work,
Right.
That's like, instead of listening to music, they're listening to the confirmation. Oh, that's important, and that's great for, that our media is doing that coverage and that we can see this.
That's a good point that I want to transition into, because I wanted to ask the two of you, okay, so if minds are already made up, we're seeing politics on both sides, is it necessary we go through this process? Senator Lee brought up the fact that, 100 years ago, we didn't do these hearings.
Right.
Is it time to maybe look at not doing the hearings anymore?
Well, and the hearings have kind of been a farce for 30 years since the Bork hearings, since we have the verb to be borked. I don't think it's necessary. I think it helps the American people get vested in the decision, and if we can do it without it being a circus, I think it would be great, but it's not necessary anymore.
I think it helps, and it's critical. We have very low participation of our citizens when it comes to government, and the more accessible we make it for them to listen. I have people come back and say, oh, I can't believe he said that. I mean, or, oh, I like what he said. I mean, both ways. And that's important. I mean, you also see a side of that person under pressure. Right. That's important, and the Supreme Court justice position is very big. It's critical. It's going to be making major decisions for this country. I want to see that person, in that position, answering those questions. And when you look back and you see of all of them and what they went through, I think it's a good learning experience. So I embrace that. I think it's important, and brings transparency to the process.
Okay, one last question I want both of you to weigh in on. We're really seeing protesters step up and become vocal in a way we haven't before. Do you like that?
I don't think it's right to vilify individual judges. It's not right to say Judge Kavanaugh is against clean water, or Judge Kavanaugh is going to kill babies. It's not Judge Kavanaugh that would do anything. It would be the court, and he would be one of 9. And so the vilifying or the attacking, and it just it just creates the circus atmosphere, and I think it takes away from the office of what we're doing.
Your thoughts on the protesters?
As someone that serves as a state senator, and we sometimes have hearings, keeping the decorum is critical. It helps the process. When there's so much chaos, it's hard to listen. So I hope that protesters are important because they bring up issues that maybe we're missing as constituents or as members of the public. But it needs to be in an orderly process and fashion, and disrespectful name calling, I don't think it's going to get us anywhere. And to her point, I mean, someone is not going to go and kill babies, or vice versa, right? Someone's not going to go and, it takes more, and it's about respecting the position and the process.
Right. Let's move on to a heated race in Utah's 4th Congressional District. The Utah Debate Commission unveiling its polling on Wednesday, and the one that caught my eye was the 4th District because it showed Representative Love up 9 points. Yeah. Every other poll shows this as statistical tie. What do you make of that on this poll?
Well, I think it's, one, I'm glad that it's a contested race, and Mayor McAdams has shown that he can win county elections. I mean, he's in the measure of, like, as a Democrat, he's our #1, top Democrat elected. He has been elected in the whole county. So I'm glad that we can see that this is a contested race. There's, to your point, there's some that showed him, 1 point difference, yeah. Him ahead and 3 points ahead. So I've been in those congressional races. They're tough. It depends when you ask. When Mike came out and I ran for Congress in 2014, it put us in a very, close race. The reality is, by the time it's the election day, things change, and it also depends on how they ask the question. And I'm not familiar with the questionnaire and the question itself, but I'm excited. It just means that the incumbent, in this case, Mia Love, needs to work hard because our mayor is working hard, and he may take this district, and that's exciting for Democrats.
Do you see this as a 9-point race or closer?
I think it is a 9-point race. I think it shows, this polling shows that Mia's success in her years in Congress, her constituent services with Mr. Holt, I forget his first name.
Josh.
Yeah, Josh Holt. Her speaking out against President Trump. She's doing a good job in Washington, and people see that. I also see that as the 9 points is showing that as the campaign continues, people are maybe getting a little more uncomfortable with where Mayor McAdams stands on a few things. The Olympia Hills project was a real eye opener for many in the county. Nobody knew anything about it until all of a sudden it came up for a vote, and I think that caused people to question things.
Okay, let's move on to one last topic. We have about a minute left, so 30 seconds each. Utah policy poll showing that support for medical marijuana has slipped since the LDS Church made its public statement, but still is strong. What should we make of that as we look toward whether that will pass or not in November?
I think it's going to pass, and as someone that sat through the 5 years of hearings in that committee, there was enough time for the legislature to take real action about medicinal cannabis, and they pushed the people in desperation to go to this situation. The LDS Church is a very influential organization. They're a big part of our community, and of course, having them take a stand on any issue, we were going to see that. But I think it's going to pass. It may be closer than what they expected initially, but I believe it will pass.
Okay.
I think it'll pass too. I think the church's influence is strong, but they came in too late, and the issue is too close to people's hearts when they see family members in pain.
Okay, great to have you with us. I wish we had more time, but unfortunately it runs out just like that.
It does.
So great to have you. We'll have you on again.
Thanks.
Stay with us. We'll be right back with more Inside Utah Politics right after the break.